Here we want to simplify this fraction, but the first thing here is that you must have the idea on how to. Here you have how many symbols? You have two symbols here. This is a division symbol and then this is a subtraction symbol. So you must have the clue on how to tackle some of the subtractions. So what I mean by that, if you have 2 on what, on 3 and then minus let's say 1 on 2, this is a very simple way, right? So you have to have the clue on how to deal with this one. So the key to solve this thing is to find the least common multiple, right? The least common multiple among these two people, and then you proceed from this point, right? So you must have the idea on this thing, and then the second one is to how to divide, right? So maybe dividing a two fraction. If you have something like 3 on 2 here and then divided by, well, let's say 1 on 3. How do you divide? So for you to divide this fraction, you have to make sure that you are changing this sign to what, a multiplication. It's a law, right? So it's a law that you must obey. So we are not doing anything to the first guy here, so the first fraction, we are not doing anything to that. And then since we are changing this to a multiplication, something must happen, meaning that we are buying this thing with a certain amount of money, right? So here tends to be a multiplication. What are we buying with? We are buying with these people to interchange, right? So here the 3 goes up and then 1 comes down, right? Once again, you should know how to multiply. So in the multiplication, top to top and then what, down to down. So here gives me what, 3 by 3 gives me 9, and then this one by this one gives me what, gives me 2, right? So now these are the things that you must have the idea on before you can solve a complicated things like this. This is not complicated, just as simple things are being combined together to have the idea. Now let's see how to tackle this problem. Okay, finally, one thing you must also understand is this is what we call what, a mixed fraction, right? So let's say I have like 1, 2 on what, on 3, something like this. So one person standing here, maybe in this case this is 1, right? So and then there's another fraction attached to this one. So the way of doing this, you must know how to convert this thing, right? So here you use this one to multiply this guy. I have a video on this, so make sure that you check the playlist below. So this guy multiply this one, that is equal to 3 by what, by 1, right? And then plus the top one, so plus or plus 2. And then everything divided by whatever is at the down here, which is 3 in this case, right? So this one multiply, that gives us a 3, and then multiply plus the 2 here, that is going to be 5. So 5 on what, on 3. So these are the key simple things you must understand before you solve any complicated things of this nature. Since you have the clue on how to tackle this problem, now you have to do everything step by step. So what I mean by step here is that you pick the first number here. Is there anything you have to do to that? You pick this guy. Is there anything you have to do? And then you pick finally, you pick this one. Is there anything you have to obey with without changing the structure of what the question being given to you? So what I mean by that, put the bracket at where it's supposed to be, this operations where they are all supposed to be, and then move on. This is what a subtraction, right? So this is subtraction here. Okay, so perfect. Now you can see that this guy here is a little bit complicated. So what I mean by that, you have to change this guy to what, an improper fraction. If you don't know what that is, it's just that the number at the top is, this is what we call an improper, right? 7 on 2. So the guy at the top here is always bigger than the one at the down, right? So a small boy being carried by what, a big man. Okay, now let's see how to convert this one. So now that we know how to convert this thing, this guy multiply by this, right? And then add to the top one. So you can do this in somewhere and then come and finish up. So here we are having what, 6 2 on 3, right? So meaning that this is a 3 multiplied by 6 here, and then plus or plus 2, and then everything divided by 3, right? So this one multiplied by that will give us 18. So 18 plus or plus 2 here, that's going to be, so that's going to be 20 on 3, right? Okay, so meaning that here we have the here to be what, 20 on 3, right? So put the division sign where it's supposed to be. Don't change the nature. So what follows is the bracket, right? So have the bracket down. So change this one, change these two people here, and then come back and let's move on. So at this point, okay, maybe congratulations for just trying, right? So at this point here, what are we going to do here? Now, this is where you apply the idea called what a board mass, right? So even though here we are not having all the operations between, you must always obey this law. This is a law, right? That tells me that this is a bracket, this is off. Off means what? A multiplication and then division, right? And then here's a multiplication. Okay, these two people are siblings, so multiplication and off are siblings. So in mathematics, they all mean the same thing, right? So here, if off, you have a, we are going to solve a multiple questions on this, so you may consider subscribing to the channel, right? Okay, now here we follow by what the addition and the subtraction. So according to this thing here, what we are going to do here, bracket is here. So we are going to deal with the bracket. So anything inside the bracket, that is what we are going to solve now, right? So without doing anything to the guy outside here, which is 20 on 3 here, and then divided by whatever we are going to buy. So let's deal with the bracket, right? So that is why you need to have the idea of how to solve a subtraction, right? So here you have a subtraction. What do you do here? So of course here you are going to find the least common multiple. So how do you find the least common multiple? So let me break this thing down for you to have the idea on how to find the least common multiple, right? So if you have 1 on 2 and then minus, let's say, 2 on 3, what I mean by the least common multiple here is that is the least common multiple among these two people at the down here, which we are calling what the denominator, right? So here we have the multiples of 2, that is equal to 2, 4, 6, right? And then 8, 10, and so on and so forth, right? What about the 3? So the 3, let's move on so maybe here let's extend maybe 12 and so on and so forth, right? So what about the 3? So 3, you have the 3, 3 and then 6 and then 9, and so on and so forth, right? The key here is that the smallest among these two people is what we are looking for. So what do they have in common? What do these two people have in common? So here I can see 6 here, I can see another 6 here, right? So those are the least, the smallest among the multiples of these two people. That is what we are calling the least common multiple. Now, once you have that least common multiple here in this case, which is 6 here, right? So we are free to go now. So we have that to be 6 at the down here. Is that okay? Okay, now here we have the 2 here. 2 divided by 6 will give us 3, right? So maybe 2 will go into the 6 that, let's see how many times, 3 times, and then multiply by the top one, right? So multiply by the top one. So here is times the top one. Is that okay? So with the subtraction here, bring it down as it is, and then here the 3 here will go into the 6. How many? What I mean by that, 3 divided by 6. So 3 divided by 6 is equal to 2, right? So we have our 2 here, and then 2, the answer multiplied by the top one. So everything is just done step by step. Don't be in a hurry, right? Nobody's chasing you. Okay, so here we have this one multiplied by that is equal to 3, and then minus this guy multiplied by that should be a 4, and then here we have everything divided by 6. So this is going to be negative 1 on 6, right? Okay, perfect. With this idea here, if you have a very big number, you can easily go by that. Now, so how do you find the least common multiple among these two people? With the least common, it only applies to the multiplication and the addition, right? So you consider watching the full video and about this description below, or maybe comment down below on anything that you want to see, right? So here the least common multiple here is going to be 15. You may try, right? So multiples of 5, 10, 15, and so on. And so multiples of 15 is safe. So you can see that those two things are the least common multiple here. And then this 15 will go into this one how many times? Just 1, and then use the 1 to multiply the top one, which is a 49 right here, right? And then minus this guy will go into this thing how many times? So you have 3 here, right? Remember, 15 divided by this one is always this one divided by this, right? So it's 15 on what? On 5. Okay, so that would be 3, and then 3 multiplied by the top one, which is the 8. Okay, so perfect. So here we have our 20 as it is, 20 divided by, and then here we are going to perform the operation. That is equal to 49 minus. So this one will give me, this one will be what, 24, right? So 24 on what, on 15. Okay, okay, so perfect. So if you have everything in this case, so we can proceed from here. That is 20 on 3 and then divided by, so this one minus this one will give me, that should be 25, right? So 25 on what, on 15. Okay, perfect. Now at this point, we are free to move on. So we can take off this bracket because it's only one person within the bracket. So here we have 20 on 3 and then divided by 25 on on 15. That's also at the beginning of this video. I said that you must have the idea on what, on how to divide. Obviously, how you manage to manipulate this so-called complicated item to a very simple one that you must know. So if you don't have the clue on how to tackle the simple one, that was where you are going to start, right? Okay, so perfect. Now what do you do here? Since you know how to divide, so this is going to be 20 on 3 here, and then multiply, right? So multiply, what happens to these people? We interchange that to be 15 on what, 25 here, right? So here the top to top and then down to down, right? So what I mean by that, this guy multiply by this and this guy multiply by that. But here you can see that this guy, we can easily reduce this guy. So here, to avoid such a huge number here, right? So you can simplify this thing. You can reduce this thing down here. Now this is the simple way. If you have, let's say, 4 on what, on 8 here, what it means is that we are dividing 8 by 4, right? So let's say we are sharing an amount of $8 here, or maybe equivalent in your currency, by 4 people, right? So maybe, or we are sharing this thing, this top, which is the $4 here, by what, by the 8 people. What it means here is that the 4 here will go into itself by 1, and then we can use that same 4 to divide it down here to be what, to be 2, right? So maybe the other way around. So we are dividing this thing by that. So to simplify that, it means that if you can see the number here inside the other one, that is okay. We are free to go. So here I can see that if I take this $4, I want to give to one person, the person can take all, right? So what about that same number? Don't interchange that same number. The 4 here can be found in this thing how many times? 2 times. Right, so that's the idea that you can use to simplify this. But here in multiplication, you can see that the 3 here, you see, it's diagonal. So what I mean by diagonal, here to this point, and then this one to this, or maybe this to this, and then this to that, if it's possible. Nobody will arrest you on how you are going to simplify this thing. But the key here is that the diagonal to diagonal, and then here to this, or maybe this one to this, and then this to this. Okay, what about if you go this way? If you go this way, we can see that this guy here, the 3 here, will go into this for 1, right? So here you can see that same 3, don't change the number, that same 3 will go into the 15 how many times? 5, right? So it will go here 5 times. So, okay, so what about this? If you want to go to these people, find a number that you can find here, you can find the same number in this one. So here, the largest one, of course, well, maybe you can start with a simple one. Nobody will arrest you for doing this. Is that okay? Okay, here we have what? 5. So I can see that 5 will go here how many times? 4 times, and then 5 will go here how many times? So of course that is what? 5 times. So here you can see that I'm having 4 on 1 being multiplied by 5 on what? On 5. Is that okay? So here, can we still go diagonal? No, we cannot go diagonal because you can't find any number that will go into the 5. That same number will go into the 1. So what about this? The same thing. We can't find any number. So what about top to top to down here, right? So top to down here. So this guy here, 5 will go to itself by 1. 5 will go here by 1, right? So this guy, they just cancel out. So we have 4 on 1 multiplied by 1 by 1. This is very simple to do. So here you multiply this by this, that gives us 4 here, and then the down to down, that will give us 1. So 4 on 1 here is this is equal to 4.